Laughter echoed through the school gates, sharp and cruel like broken glass underfoot. A dozen boys in crisp uniforms clustered near the bike rack, their voices carrying above the hum of the morning bell. And at the center of it all, Liam, 12 years old, pale hands gripping the handles of a tricycle too small for him to patch together to hide the rust that bled through its frame. His legs didn't work the way theirs did. One dragged slightly, never fully cooperating, forcing him to push harder with the other. The trike's front wheel wobbled. The chain clicked like a ticking clock, warning of a breakdown. Or maybe something worse. Look at Robo Boy go. Bryce jeered, a smirk twisting his face. Careful, don't short circuit. A sneaker thudded against the rear tire. Liam jolted forward. The handlebars jerked, but he didn't fall. He never looked up. Not once. He just adjusted his grip and pedaled the rest of the way, slow and steady, the front fender squealing with each turn like it was crying out for him. The others howled. Someone threw a juice box that burst near his back wheel. Sticky liquid splashed the pavement. Across the yard, the janitor leaned on his broom, gaze fixed on the scene. His hands tightened slightly, but he didn't move. As Liam parked his trike, head bowed, eyes trained on the ground. One of the boys muttered loud enough for everyone to hear, voice full of smug disgust. Why does he even come to school like that? Liam had always been different, but not in the way the world liked to celebrate. He wasn't the kind of different that won awards or made people cheer. He was born with a congenital leg defect, one that left his left leg twisted and weak, the right one overworked and stubborn. He walked with a limp and rode a tricycle that was more necessity than novelty. But in his own quiet world, Liam was limitless. At home, tucked inside a modest two-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, Liam spent his afternoons surrounded by wires, broken radios, and empty cereal boxes repurposed into models of machines not yet invented. He dreamed in gears and pulleys, read books on engineering like fairy tales, and doodled jetpacks in the margins of his spelling tests. The walls of his room were taped with sketches, hoverboards, self-watering plants, robotic arms that could lift cars. His trike, the one kids mocked so mercilessly, had been built by his grandfather, an old mechanic with oil-stained hands and a heart so wide it could have held the whole world. Before cancer took him, he spent weekends customizing that tricycle piece by piece. Liam still remembered the last adjustment they made together, a small solar panel that powered a headlight. It hadn't worked in months, but he refused to remove it. His mother, Carla, worked 2 jobs, waitress by day, cleaner by night. She left notes on the fridge. Proud of you. Remember your worth. He kept them all, folded in his backpack. Armor against the cruelty he faced every day. Liam never told her about the bullying. He didn't want to add weight to the load she already carried. Besides, he had other dreams to focus on. Bigger ones. Ones that didn't need legs to chase them. The town of Elmridge was the kind of place where nothing ever changed, except the people who didn't quite fit in. Old pickup trucks rattled down cracked roads. The diner still served meatloaf Tuesdays. And the school, with its beige brick walls and faded banners, clung to routine like a lifeline. In Elmridge Middle, sameness was safety. Any step outside the line, and the whispers followed. The hallways were lined with blue lockers, each dented in familiar places, as if even the metal had been taught to conform. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a sterile glare on the same cliques that formed year after year. Athletes, class clowns, quiet kids who knew better than to stand out. And Liam, he existed outside that spectrum entirely, like a page torn from the wrong book. But a few miles from the school, tucked behind a peeling garage door at the end of a gravel drive, lived a different world. Liam's workshop was chaos and creativity, all balled into one. Screwdrivers stuck out of old mugs, bits of copper wire hung from clothespins, cardboard prototypes leaned against a stack of tires, each one labeled in careful handwriting. This was where he came alive. His mother, Carla, peeked in after her shift, still in her waitress apron. She didn't say much, just leaned on the doorframe and smiled as he explained a new gear system he was building from old blender parts. Her eyes lingered longer than her smile, holding both pride and a sorrow she kept buried, afraid he'd see it. Hey, Terminator, your trike's falling apart. Bryce's voice cut through the midday noise like a blade. He stood near the bike rack, arms crossed over his varsity hoodie, the smug grin on his face radiating entitlement. Around him hovered the usual crew, Tanner, Luis, Jake, The kind of boys who measured power in laughter and fear. Liam had just arrived, cheeks pink from pedaling up the slight incline to school. His trike, faithful but fragile, squeaked in protest with every turn of the wheels. The chain slipped once, and he coasted the last few feet before setting his foot down to steady himself. That was enough. Bryce swaggered over, holding something behind his back. "Looks like your ride's got a death rattle, cyborg," he sneered, and with a sudden movement, smeared a thick gob of black grease across Liam's handlebars. It oozed between the worn rubber grips, sticky and slick. Liam's fingers hovered for a moment, unsure of how to touch the mess. His heart pounded in his chest, but he said nothing. Just like always, he wiped his hands on his jeans and tried to wheel the trike to its usual spot. But the front tire jammed awkwardly, the frame caught on a rock, and he stumbled. Hard. He hit the pavement with a thud. A hush fell for a moment, then broke into a storm of laughter. "Down goes Robo-Boy," someone shouted. From across the yard, a teacher looked up from her clipboard. Her eyes locked on the scene. She saw the grease, the boys grinning, Liam's scraped elbow. But after a beat, she turned back toward the building, lips pressed thin, pretending not to see. Liam stood up slowly, brushing gravel from his palms. His eyes didn't seek sympathy. They sought silence. He pushed the trike forward, dragging one foot, head lowered like a soldier retreating from battle. Behind him, Bryce mimicked his limp with exaggerated steps, eliciting another chorus of laughter. No one stopped him. No one said a word. And for Liam, the schoolyard stretched longer than ever, an endless concrete stage where he played the part of the joke. That evening, the garage smelled of rust and old rain. Liam sat cross-legged on the cold floor, the trike tipped sideways beside him. The front wheel was bent slightly from the fall, the once silver handlebars now streaked with grime. He'd been trying to clean them for an hour, rubbing at the grease with a rag until the fabric tore. It only smeared darker. A single bulb swung overhead, casting shaky circles of light that made his tears glisten each time he blinked them away. He didn't cry loud. He never did. His sobs came quietly, tucked into his breathing, small gasps that broke only when he whispered, "Why does everyone hate me?" He said to no one, his voice trembling. His gaze lifted to the photo pinned above the workbench, his grandfather, grinning wide, a wrench in hand and grease on his face. The old man's eyes, captured mid-laughter, seemed to hold a strength Liam couldn't find anymore. "You told me people were good," Liam murmured. "You said they'd see me for who I am, not what I can't do." The garage answered with silence. A lonely drip of oil hit a tin pan. Outside, a car honked somewhere far away. At the door, Carla stood in the dim hall, hand over her mouth. She'd come home early, hoping to surprise him with his favorite soup. Instead, she heard his voice, small, cracking like a boy trying to carry the world alone. She didn't step in. Not yet. Some griefs, she knew, couldn't be interrupted. Later that night, after he'd gone to bed, she sat by the kitchen phone and stared at it for a long time. Then, with trembling fingers, she dialed a number she hadn't touched in years. When the line clicked, her voice was barely a whisper. "Hey, it's Carla. I need your help." The next morning, Liam didn't want to go. He sat on the edge of his bed, his backpack slouched against the wall, his trike waiting downstairs like a broken promise. Carla didn't push him, just placed a warm hand on his shoulder and whispered, "Ride slow if you need to." He nodded without speaking. Maple Street was quiet at that hour, dew still fresh on the lawns, birdsong barely audible over the creaking of Liam's pedals. Each rotation took effort. His arms ached from gripping the still greasy handlebars, and his heart felt heavier than the weight of the trike beneath him. Then came the sound. At first, just one low rumble in the distance, like thunder trapped in a bottle. Liam slowed, confused. He glanced over his shoulder. Another engine joined. Then another. Within moments, the stillness of Maple Street was overtaken by the growl of 10 roaring motorcycles. Gleaming chrome, leather jackets stitched with flames. Wings, wolves. They moved in formation, surrounding Liam like a shield, tires humming in harmony with his own. Liam's eyes widened. His breath caught. From the front of the pack, a massive man with a braided beard and arms inked with stories pulled beside him. He gave a nod. Calm, cool, protective. "Let's ride, little brother," he said. And just like that, Liam smiled. Not the small, tight kind he gave when he was pretending. This one stretched wide across his face, full of disbelief and something new. Belonging. They rode slow, as if time had paused to watch. Neighbors stepped out onto porches. Dogs barked. A few people filmed from their driveways. The convoy didn't speed or rev. They matched Liam's pace, all the way to the school gate. When they arrived, the usual crowd of students froze mid-laugh. Bryce, perched on the steps with his usual gang, stood with his mouth open. No one said a word. The engines did all the talking. Liam parked his trike in silence, surrounded by chrome and courage, and for the first time, the schoolyard didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt like home. If you believe in standing up for the underdog, share this moment. The roar of the engines faded as the bikes rolled to a stop. One by one, their kickstands scraping the pavement like a warning. The school parking lot, usually buzzing with morning chatter, fell into a hush thick enough to touch. Liam dismounted slowly, his hand trembling just slightly as he rested it on his seat. He didn't look up, but he didn't have to. He wasn't alone. Bryce scoffed, trying to break the tension. What is this? A clown parade. The lead biker swung one leg over his holly and stepped forward. He was tall, towering, really, with leather boots, denim vest, and calm, commanding eyes. His voice, when he spoke, wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. You laughed at his ride, the man said, looking straight at Bryce. But it's not about the ride. It's about the rider. Bryce opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Another biker stepped forward. Sleeves rolled high to reveal a thick scar running the length of his forearm. You think you're tough because you knocked someone down, he said. I lost my leg overseas. Real strength isn't in your muscles. It's in how you treat people. He reached down and tapped his shin. The sound was hollow, metal meeting metal. His prosthetic gleamed in the morning light. A third biker unzipped his jacket, revealing a patch with the words still standing. He turned to Liam, placed a hand gently on the boy's shoulder. You remind us of someone we lost, he said. He had your fight. Your quiet kind. The others began to circle around Liam, not to threaten, but to protect. A living wall of steel and heart, placing themselves between him and the crowd. You want to pick on someone, the leader said, stepping closer to Bryce. Then pick on someone your own size. Or better yet, grow up. No one laughed. No one dared. The students watched in stunned silence, the rules of the schoolyard rewritten before their eyes. Liam didn't speak. He didn't need to. The message was loud, clear, and unforgettable, delivered not with fists, but with presence, with truth. The leader crouched down slowly, his heavy boots creaking against the asphalt. In his weathered hands, he held a small leather vest, dark brown, soft but sturdy, the back stitched with bold letters that read, Brothers in Steel. Liam looked at it with wide eyes, unsure if it was meant for him. It's yours, the man said gently, holding it out. You've earned it. Liam hesitated, then reached forward, his fingers grazing the leather like it might disappear. The leader helped him slip it on, adjusting the shoulders with care. It hung a little loose, but it fit where it mattered. There, the biker said with a nod. Now you're official. He stood and raised Liam's arm high, as if declaring him champion of something far greater than a schoolyard. Around them, the circle of bikers erupted in cheers, not rowdy, but proud, like a coronation. Another biker knelt beside the trike, pulling tools from a saddlebag. Let's fix this right up, he muttered with a grin. He replaced the sticky grips with new ones, black with silver threading. Another adjusted the chain, tightening the frame with practiced hands. A third biker shined the headlight, polishing it until it gleamed like a beacon. Liam watched it all with a stunned, swelling heart. His hands clutched the edge of the vest, and for the first time in weeks, he didn't feel small. He felt seen. When the trike was ready, the leader looked down at him one last time. This vest doesn't make you tough, he said. Your courage already did that. This just tells the world who's got your back. And as Liam climbed onto his trike once more, a new smile stretched across his face. Full, fearless, and finally free. Weeks passed, and the schoolyard was never quite the same. Liam still rode his trike, now gleaming with care, grips tight, wheels smooth, but he rode it differently. Head up, shoulders back. The vest, worn proudly over his jacket, flapped softly in the breeze. No one mocked him anymore. Bryce kept his distance, his swagger noticeably muted. The laughter that once chased Liam down the sidewalk had vanished, replaced by nods, quiet greetings, and something unexpected, respect. After school, Liam no longer pedaled home alone. A few curious kids started walking with him. Then came the questions. How did you fix that gear? Can you show me how that works? It started small. Just one afternoon in the garage with a classmate who brought an old skateboard. By the end of the month, Liam had a full build club. 5 kids, then 8. They came with broken toys, junk drones, even a toaster someone dared to take apart. Liam guided them patiently, tools in hand, eyes lit with the kind of joy that can't be faked. One afternoon, the teacher, who'd once looked away now stood by the workbench, sleeves rolled up, holding a screwdriver. She laughed as a girl showed her a wind-up car with a paperclip spoiler from her car parked down the street. Carla watched through the open garage door. Her hands clutched the steering wheel, knuckles pale, but her eyes shimmered, full of tears, full of pride. Her boy wasn't just surviving anymore. He was building something bigger. It only took one ride to change everything. The roar of engines, the glint of chrome, the sight of 10 bikers rolling behind a boy on a tricycle. Slow, steady, unstoppable. In slow motion, they filled the street like a wave of thunder and protection, matching his pace, not to lead, but to stand with him. That image stayed with the town, with the school, with anyone who saw it, because sometimes, it takes just one moment of courage to rewrite the rules, one act of kindness to drown out the cruelty, one silent rider to be louder than 1,000 laughs. What would you have done if you saw that boy being mocked? Would you have turned away? Or would you have ridden beside him? Tag someone who'd ride beside you when it matters most. Share this story if you believe no one should have to face the world alone.